I like beer cause it is good. I drink beer because I should. If there was a song to sing, I sing it and beer you bring. I drink beer when I am sad, cause the beer it makes me glad. Now there's nothing left to say, so let's go drink beer.
Beer is good, beer is good, beer is good. And stop, beer is good, beer is good, beer is good.
Let's go drink some beer!
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Michael Brown, and this is BeerTV Brewing with Style. I'm in the studio today with my friend Dean Pottle, and what we're going to do is talk to you about another beer style. So, Dean, what do you know about wheat beers?
Wheat beers. What an interesting beer. It's a summer beer. Much easier to brew in summer with higher temperatures.
Oh, absolutely. What's your favorite wheat beer?
Oh, probably a Doppelbock.
Oh yeah, those Weizenbachs and Icebox. Oh man, those are
Doppelbock.
nice. Yeah, yeah, very nice beers. I'll have to agree with you. I like them all. I also like the Belgian wit beers because of their tartness and citriness. I like American wheat beers. Great thirst quenchers. Great when you're going to go out and like do some gardening, or you're going to maybe do some lawn mowing, or you have to do some work outside. You know, you're getting out in the heat and the sun. It's just kind of a nice thing to be able to relax with.
And what about Saisons?
Well, Saisons aren't always a wheat beer. They could be all grain, and so they're really not included. They're more a farmhouse style ale, and so I didn't think that they should be included in this show. This show is focusing pretty much on what most people would traditionally call wheat beers.
Excellent. So, where are we going from here on the wheat beers?
Great question. That's because beer is great. Tonight we have another beer in our series of style guides. Last time we talked about Bock, its muddled history, the ingredients that are used, how it's made, and what defines its character, and what food goes well with it. In this episode, we're going to delve into one of the most popular beers of all time. What with spring now warming up towards summer, this show is all about wheat beers. Yes, those ales of Germany, particularly Bavaria and Belgium. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to give you a look at how these beers are brewed. But first, we need to talk about the different substyles of wheat beers. Just like pale ales, stouts, and Bock, wheat beers have officially 5 different substyles represented by a spectrum of alcohol contents, dryness, aroma, and color. The 4 different German wheat beers all have their roots in the history of brewing lagers only during the colder months of the year, typically September through March. So between March and September, since lager beers were verboten to brew in the days before refrigeration, the German lager breweries, especially in Bavaria, brewed ales. Wheat ales became the norm as the ingredient most widely available to the brewers, which was wheat. Now, on the low end of alcohol, body, and mouthfeel, we have Hefeweizen, or wheat beer with yeast, followed by traditional Dunkelweizen, or dark wheat beer, Weizenbock, like what Dean was talking about, and Weizen Eisbock. What differentiates these beers is mostly the amount of fermentables that go into them and the balance of light and dark grains in them to their respective color, flavor, body, and alcohol content. Tonight, I'm going to focus on these 4 German-style wheat ales and the lone Belgian French style of beer, wit, as they are the most widely available and identifiable substyles of this genre. Now, the styles evolved from attempts to keep a brewery brewing. The workers gainfully employed, brewing what would have survived through the warmer months of the year. This was primarily due to the Reinheitsgebot prohibition of brewing lager beers between March and September. Now, when a brewery in Germany offers a wheat beer, the color, body, and alcohol content was always the strongest indicator of the substyle of the beer. The Belgians had it easier than the Germans, as they had no purity laws to prevent them brewing with whatever ingredients became available. The Belgians, being freer to express themselves artisanally, ooh, that was a nasty faux pas, had a broader interpretation of ingredients, which not only included various and sundry grains, but herbs, fruits, and spices as well. Modern versions are brewed from at least 50% wheat or more, from either country to be called wheat beers. But these beers are more about the yeast character and the flavors and aromas that these beers generate. Now, most German-style wheat beers possess an aroma of moderate to strong phenols, usually clove, and fruity esters, usually banana. The balance and intensity of phenol and ester compounds can vary, but the best examples are reasonably balanced and fairly prominent. Noble hop character ranges from low to none. These beers are more about the yeast character and not the malts nor the hops. A light to moderate wheat aroma, which might be perceived as bready or grainy, may be present, but other malt characteristics shouldn't be there. There is absolutely no diacetyl or butterscotch flavor or aroma or DMS or cooked corn-like aromas and flavors which should ever be present in these beers. Now, optionally, but acceptable, aromatics can include a light citrusy tartness, a light moderate vanilla character, and or a low bubblegum aroma. None of these optional characteristics should be high or dominant, but often can add to the complexity and balance of these beers. These beers can range from pale straw to very dark in color. A very thick, moussey, long-lasting head is characteristic of all German-style wheat beers, Belgian wheats or wits, however, have moderate sweetness. Belgian wits typically often with light notes of honey and or vanilla with that light, grainy, spicy wheat aromatic, often with a bit of tartness at the end. Moderate perfumey levels of coriander, often with a complex herbal, spicy, or peppery note, can be found in the background. Now, moderately zesty, citrusy, orangey fruitiness can also accompany many beers in this style. A low, spicy herbal hop aroma is optional, but should never overpower the other characteristics. As in the German wheat beers, no diacetyl or butterscotch type flavors should ever be noted. Spices should blend in with fruity, floral, and sweet aromas, and they should not be overly strong. The high protein content of wheat beers impairs clarity in an unfiltered beer. Although the level of haze is somewhat variable, these beers are usually quite cloudy. A beer mit Hefe, or with yeast, is also cloudy from suspended yeast sediment, which should be roused before drinking, as it's highly nutritious. The filtered crystal version has no yeast and is brilliantly clear. The hop aroma should be low to none, as these beers are more about the wheat and yeast character, which gives these styles their signature flavor and aroma. When you taste a German wheat beer or a Belgian wit beer, you'll notice moderately bready, grainy flavors, optionally with low to no hop flavor and medium to no hop bitterness. Pleasant sweetness, often with a honey and or vanilla character, and a zesty orange citrusy fruitiness can be present in these Belgian wits. While German wheats show low to moderately strong banana and clove flavors, the balance and intensity of the phenol and ester components can vary. But the best examples are reasonably balanced and fairly prominent, with the flavors paralleling the aromas. Now, optionally, a very light to moderate vanilla character and or low bubblegum note can accentuate the banana flavor, sweetness, and roundness. Neither should be dominant if present. The soft, somewhat bready or grainy flavor of wheat is complementary, as is a slightly sweet Pilsner malt character. Hop flavor is very low to none, and no bitterness should be very low to moderate at best. A tart citrusy character from yeast with high carbonation is often present, accentuating the hops, and especially the yeast character. They should have a well-rounded, flavorful palate with a relatively dry finish. Belgian wits, on the other hand, are refreshingly crisp with a dry, often tart finish on the palate. They can have a low wheat or soft bready flavor. Optionally, there could be a very light lactic acid tasting tartness. Herbal spicy flavors which may include coriander and other spices, which are quite common and should be subtle and balanced and not overpowering. A spicy, earthy hop flavor is low to none, and if noticeable, never gets in the way of the spices. Hop bitterness is low to medium low, as with the German Hefeweizen, and doesn't interfere with the refreshing flavors of fruit and spice, nor does it persist into the finish. bitterness from orange pith should not be present. Vegetal or celery-like, maybe ham-like, or even soapy flavors are totally inappropriate. Some balancing factors may include a creaminess in the mouthfeel, which should be medium light to medium full in the body with low to moderate carbonation. Next, I'll show you how you too can brew these beers for the up-and-coming warmer months ahead. Well, welcome back from that excellent episode on how to brew wheat. Alrighty, as you can see, I'm going in that wheat and that barley. Got my water at 160 degrees. That's going to equilibrate down to 150, and I'm going to have myself one heck of a beer. So hold on, folks.
Hey, now what we want to know is what's your temperature?
All right. And the answer is 148 degrees,
Wow.
which is fine.
So you're actually going on the lower
The lower end of the mash scale, yes.
And I'm on the higher end.
So I'm going for a high fermentability wort. I'm even going to add sugar, but I got this beautiful turbinado sugar, all natural. It's organic as well. I'm going to throw that into the boil, and that's going to give me a higher gravity.
It will.
Yeah, 7.5. I got 7 pounds of that. 7 pounds is going to get me. Sorry, 7.5 pounds. That's going to get me an additional 30 gravity points. Those 30 gravity points with the 90 I'm putting in is going to give me 1,120 gravity.
Right, we want to.
And that should finish out at 1020.
Well, it's
And
good.
the idea is I'm putting in more sugars, make a higher volume. The only downside of that is it cuts into your utilization of your hops.
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back with you on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. I'm starting to boil out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recirculate, which means I'm going to turn on my pump and start getting it recirculating so I can clarify my wort, concentrate my mash, and get my beer going. I've got this very turgid. If you look at it, it looks almost like it's some kind of a really finely divided silica or something in there. And actually what that is all those, really hardcore wheat pieces and, pieces of flour and stuff going through there. But pretty soon I'm going to set up a grain bed. And I put in some rice hulls because I knew using this much wheat I was going to have some troubles with lautering. But as you can see, I'm getting a nice lauter flow. It's coming out beautifully. And what I'm waiting for it to do is to clear up a little bit so then I can put on my sparge arm. I like to recirculate through my sparge arm because recirculating through my sparge arm allows me to keep the pressure on the head end of the grain even as I set the bed. Alrighty, well, we'll be sparging here pretty soon, and when we do, we'll be right back on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Alrighty, I'm back, and right now I'm getting ready to sparge through and get my boil going. So I'm gonna hit the light and get my igniter going. Now I got my gas burner going, I got the gas heating up the kettle here, and what I'm gonna do is start my boil while I'm sparging. I got the sparge water coming out, going through my pump into my sparge arm. I've got the mash tun here draining into my kettle. I got this beautiful wort. It's almost like water. It's clear. It looks like real light colored honey. This is going to be a fantastic beer. Real light body, real light flavored, but kick ass in terms of, strength. This is going to be a barley wine, a wheat wine, because it's made with wheat. That's why it's half wheat, half barley. I guess I could call it a Hefeweizen. If I put lactose in it, it'd be a Hefeweizen. I haven't stopped with the puns yet. There'll be more later on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Alrighty, I'm back. Deed's collected his wort. I'm gonna start boiling mine down, and I got these beautiful hops. 4 ounces of Magnum hops. The reason I'm going for a lot of high alpha hops here is I want to make sure I get a good bitterness in this beer because it's going to be a wheat wine. It's a high gravity beer. And at 1120 original gravity, that's going to be pretty darn high. So I'm going to put these hops in here right now and get that bitterness going. Oh, I wish you could smell the smells I'm smelling. Oh my gosh, these Magnum hops from the Hallertau family, they give a wonderful aroma to the beer that's just absolutely to behold. And in a moment, you're going to see me adding the flavor hops through the magic of television. So I'll be right back at you on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Alrighty, folks, this is my second edition of hops. I'm putting in 4 ounces of Centennial for flavor. I love the flavor of Centennial. And then after about another 15 minutes, it's going to be Amarillo's turn. Yes, 4 ounces of Amarillo, a full quarter pound for aroma. So So in you go. Oh, you gotta smell those Centennial hops. They smell like heaven in a glass. And as you can see, I'm getting this magnificent boil. Those hops are going ah as they give up their little lives to produce wonderful, tasty beer. And I'll be right back on more on Beer TV, Brewing with Style. All right, I put in 4 ounces of Amarillo hops from my aroma hop, and as you can see, the kettle is boiling away. I got this beautiful wort going. I got the 4 ounces of Amarillo hops in there. That's going to give me some aroma. I'm just going to have them in there long enough to wet them and so they'll sink to the bottom. Because the idea here is I want to keep that aroma in there. So as soon as it's done, I'm going to shut off the boil, clamp the lid down, chill this wort down, pitch my yeast. I'm good to go. I'll be right back on Beer TV, Brewing with Style. Alrighty, I'm chilling my wort down. I got 68 degrees. I'm gonna pitch my yeast. I got 6 packages of US-05 dry yeast. That's right, I'm using dry yeast. Mainly because I wanted to get a healthy pitch of active, ready to go yeast. So I rehydrated 6 packages of the US-05 yeast. Otherwise I have to make like a 1.5 gallon starter for this high gravity wort. Speaking of high gravity wort, I was up to 25 bricks. Do you know how high that is in sugar gravity? That's 1110. Yes, 110 gravity points. Hopefully this thing will crash on down and give me about a 10, 15, 10, 20 terminal gravity, and I'll have about 13% alcohol by volume wheat wine. Oh baby, that's what I'm talking about. All right, next time on Beer TV, Brewing with Style, taking you back to the studio. Good night. Wheat beers. Dean, have you ever brewed a wheat beer before?
Yeah, not really Hefeweizens, but wits. I have a particular fondness for the whole idea of coriander and curacao.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think many people know that. I think you had mentioned orange on there. You have to watch that it doesn't give that taste, but usually it is supposedly from the curacao plant.
Oh, absolutely.
They call it bitter and it's sweet orange. Because I have tried substituting real orange, and it tastes orangey, which is not really what you want. You want it that is subtle. It's kind of like using something like anise for licorice.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but in a beer it gives you that character.
Yeah, and I think they were just substituting spices for hops because they probably didn't have that many hops, and they just wanted to give the beer a little bit of extra flavor, make it refreshing. Awesome. I seem to remember you also brewed a wheat wine. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, well, what's the Old Soul or something from Big Time? They're the famous ones. That inspired me. And it's hard to do because you're using so much wheat, it can totally mess your mash up, get a total stuck mash. But I got through with it and got up to like 1120.
Whoa.
On that beer.
Yeah, that's about a 12 to 14% beer there, it sounds like.
Yeah, that was good, but of course it was well light before it got the aging it should have.
I agree. Big beers like that should be aged, and I really enjoy the flavor of it. And that reminds me, and after seeing that wheat beer being brewed, I want to show you how to appreciate the appearance, aroma, the flavor, the mouthfeel, and the character of wheat beers. In another cutaway, you'll see me and Dean right here in the studio talking about beer, but at Dean Scene. That's right, we're gonna be at Dean Scene tasting 12 different wheat beers, both foreign and domestic versions. Typical examples of the styles found in Belgian wits are the Hoegaarden wit, Celis white, Wittekerke, Allagash white, Ommegang white, Avery white rascal. Boy, there's a lot of white beers in there. Unibrow, Blanche de Chamblay, Bell's Winter White Ale, and Victory Whirlwind Wit Beer. Now, German wheat examples include, but aren't limited to, the Weihenstephaner Hefeweiss beer, the original, Schneiderweiss Weizenhell, Paulaner Hefeweizen, Weihenstephaner Hefeweiss Bier Dunkel, Einger Urweiss, Frankiskaner Dunkel Hefeweizen, Schneider Aventinus, one of Dean's favorites, Schneider Aventinus Icebox, both our favorites, and AleSmith's Weizenbach. Now, Erdinger Picantus and Victory Moonglow Weizenbach are also included in that group. But now we're going to go to Dean's Scene for the ultimate in beer tasting. Okay, we're back, and we're going to be trying the next beer on deck, and that's going to be the Weihenstephan Hefeweiss beer. Now, a lot of people might say, well, what's up with checking 2 different beers of the same style? Well, the main idea is that not every beer of the same style tastes the same. There's a big variety of flavors. Just like there's different flavors of, pale ales, there's different flavors of Weiss beer. Try them all. You might find one you really like. You might not like any of them. It all depends on what you like.
Yeah, world's oldest brewery.
Sweet. Also has the world's oldest brewing university associated with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you go to Davis, Seibel,
Weihenstephan. Yep, that's pretty much it. And then you get a Brewdiversity degree. Wow.
Yeah, different nose than the last
Yeah, this has got a little more bubblegum and banana going on than the last one. The last one had a little fruitiness.
Yeah, there's more fruitiness.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more balanced. Oh, that's good. Kind of has an orange citrus tang to it as well.
Very good summer beer again.
Awesome. I love the color of it too. These beers are quite bright in color. They have like a nice, almost like an orangey yellow color.
Well, it goes along with the taste.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And lots of carbonation, so they might cause people to burp a little bit, some stomach gas, but that's the nature of the beast. And they do that basically to help balance out the hops, because these are not very hoppy beers.
No, not at all.
And compensate for that lack of hops, they always put in extra CO2, so that accentuates the hops and kind of makes the wheat play second fiddle. So that way it gets a more balanced flavor that way.
And high carbonation also makes it very refreshing.
Oh, absolutely, especially on a hot day when my bald pate is perspiring. Okay, coming up next on deck with BeerTV Brewing with Style, we got some more Hefeweizens. This time they're going to be a little bit more firmer bodied, a little bit more fruity, a little more flavorful. So we'll be right back with BeerTV Brewing with Style. Alrighty, we're back, and we're going to have our next German Hefeweizen beer right now. This is König Ludwig beer from Bavaria. This is the King of Bavaria's private beer. He has a brewery in the basement of his castle. Yes, he lives in a castle. That's why he's a king. Go ahead and try some of this, Dean.
Delighted to.
I figure that he's the most eligible bachelor in Europe. He's got to make good beer. He's also Weihenstephan educated.
Which means he actually went to the brewery?
He actually went to the university, got his degree, and he produces some of the best beers in Bavaria. Everything he makes is Reinheitsgebot compliant, even his export beers. They don't have to do that for export, but he does it anyway, I think, because he believes in the spirit of the Reinheitsgebot more than the letter of the law.
Oh, there was spirit.
Oh, wow.
But how is this different?
Woo!
now?
It's got bubblegum. I mean, I can really smell bubblegum in this. The last beer had a little bit of bubblegum. It was still more about the banana and the clove, but this one's more about bubblegum and a little bit of banana and some clove in the background. But it's more the fruitiness jumping out in the front part rather than the spiciness. All these wheat beers have that nice soft, breadiness that you find in like really rich wheat breads. And this would be a really nice accompaniment to maybe a whole wheat sandwich, like a veggie sandwich, or maybe a cheese sandwich, grilled cheese sandwich. Oh yeah, lots of sprouts. Gotta have fresh sprouts. Especially alfalfa sprouts or the radish sprouts. Get a little spicy in there. That would go really well with this. We're doing beers here in America very much like what they do in Europe, except with an American twist. And that's what I really love about the American brewers. They're willing to take classic styles and give them that special American twist that really, pumps up the flavor and pumps up the aroma and makes those beers something special. So we'll be right back in just a moment with the first American Hefeweizen to see how the American beers stand up to the European standards. Now we've had a couple of standards of European beers, we'll try the Americans and see what we're doing on this side of the pond. Cheers.
Later.
All righty, we're back, and we got this beer from Silver Moon Brewing in Bend, Oregon, and it's called High Plains Hefe. It's got this beautiful label with this great picture of what looks like a wheat stalk on the front to let us know that this has wheat, not barley in it. And it claims to be a German-style Hefeweizen, so we'll see how it stacks up to the German-style beers we've had already.
Color's right.
Yeah, beautiful color. Definitely has the yeast in there. You can see the yeast. And it's got the carbonation right. Look at that carbonation. Ooh-wee. Now this has more of a stone fruit aroma. I'm picking up what smells to me like peaches and apricots. A little more towards the peach side, I think. I like that aroma though.
Very nice job. Now, of course, you're American. You can definitely detect a little more hops.
Oh yeah,
Get out.
yeah. But the hops aren't coming through so much of the bitterness as they are the flavor. I'm tasting some hop in there. It tastes like either it's in the Hallertau family. I'm thinking like probably Mount Hood, or it could be well, it's possibly Pearl, but I'm thinking more Mount Hood or Hallertau, something like that. It has that kind of Hallertau, kind of lemony.
There's lemony and orange. Yeah, a little more lemon. So you don't have to put a lemon or an orange in your Hefeweizen.
No.
It should taste like that.
If you did that in Germany, they would probably run you out of town.
Yeah,
The only
it
time,
is a unique American.
yeah, the only time you'll ever see a slice of citrus fruit put into a beer is in Austria when they have Crystalweizen. Now, Crystalweizen is like Hefeweizen, except instead of being cloudy with Hefe or yeast, it's clear. And that's why they call it Crystalweizen, because it's absolutely dead drop clear.
So they actually filter it, or they?
I think that the yeast drops out because the Germans are not big on filtration. They're more on natural conditioning methods, krausening. They're high boundary traditions that they've been using for hundreds of years, and they've been making beers for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And when you make a beer that long, you tend to stick with pretty much what works.
Right.
I mean, the Germans are very pragmatic like that, and I can understand them doing it. Oh yeah. But here in America, we're kind of new traditionalists, We're starting up new traditions. And this beer does not have the intense spiciness I noticed in the first 3 German beers.
Do you get any banana? Yeah,
A little bit of banana, but it's mostly those stone fruits. And I like stone fruits. I like apricots. I like peaches. I mean, they're good
So
fruit.
it's actually a nice rendition of
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that wine tradition.
Yeah, I think if it had a little more spiciness to balance out all that fruitiness, this would be an absolutely perfect beer.
Because, this could be popular.
Oh well.
This
Well, I
is
think
great.
let's move on to the next beer. We'll be right back in just a moment. Going back to Germany again, except this time we're going to kick it up a notch. Be right back on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. All righty, folks, we're back, and we got another beer from Germany. This time we've got Weltenburg Helle. This is a Weiss beer that they call a Helles Weiss beer. It's a very light, pale beer. Once again, it's only 5.5% alcohol by volume, but this is a real light, delicate beer. And you look at it, it pours up just a real light straw gold color.
It's going to be interesting because the beers have been so similar yet different.
Exactly. And this is a lot lighter and paler in color, probably lighter in body as well. Ooh, yeah.
Spicy.
Yeah, I'm picking up spice, but also it smells like candy cigarettes. You know how it has that kind of powdered candy, aroma to it?
It's very good, some bitterness.
Yeah. There's just a little bit of hop in there, but not much. I'd say a little bit more than the other beers we've had tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're finally getting into the perceptible hop stage. We're getting into like the maybe 18 to 20 IBUs here.
Right. You can just make it out.
Yeah. I mean, before I think the beers were all like around maybe 12 to 15 IBUs, which is where most wheat beers are. It's not about the hops. The hops are just there to take up the residual extract. It's more about the yeast character and the flavors and aromas that they evoke in a wheat beer.
Well, it's also a very interesting thing they've done by adding wheat to the beer. Now, when we say wheat beer, it doesn't mean 100% wheat.
No.
Which they have discovered is about impossible to brew with.
Well, they can now with mash filtration systems and endosperm
with
mashing,
high technology,
but
traditionally,
typically it's like what, 2/3 wheat and 1/3 barley?
60, sometimes
Yeah.
60%. Mm-hmm. Locals.
Well, it's got to be at least 50% by German law to be considered a Weissen beer, and it has to have at least, I believe it's 90% ale yeast to be considered a Hefeweizen. They are allowed to use lager yeast, and they typically use lager yeast and Hefeweizens for krausening to give it that nice carbonation level.
Sure. Yes.
Very tasty. We'll be back in a moment with another beer that's going to blow you away. So stay tuned to Beer TV Brewing with Style. We'll be right back. And now for your drinking pleasure and perusal, we have Pinkus. This is a brewery in Germany that's all organic and USDA certified. These people actually brew an organic, and to them, it's what they've been brewing all the time. They have their own wheat and barley fields, their own hop fields. They've been brewing beer like this for like 300 or 400 years. It's all been in the family, and as far as they're concerned, this is the way they've been brewing, and they don't really see it as anything different or new or as a fad, or it's just the way they've been doing it.
No, it's a label now.
Yes, and it's got some history too. These people have been in the business in the family for like, 12 generations, and I'm just glad to see that they're doing such a good job. Oh, it's very pale.
Yeah, it's paler in color.
This is lighter than that Hell. That Helles was not even...
It's not murky, it's cloudy.
It's also our first organic beer tonight.
Okay, now it's not going to taste any different because it's organic.
Oh, wow. I'm smelling honey. I'm hoping that's not early oxidation. Sometimes that can happen. You'll get some early oxidation notes and they'll be like honey.
Before it gets stuck.
Or cardboardy. No, doesn't taste like it's oxidized. But that honey note was interesting. I like that. That's the first, I think, honey note we've picked up from the yeast. And these are all yeast-driven beers, and it's interesting to see how all these different wheat yeasts create such magnificent flavors and basically very similar malt and hop bills.
Well, this one, again, like last had more hops
Yeah.
than the others too. So,
Yeah.
So our order was very pre-planned.
Oh yeah.
But you don't want to get the hops until later.
You always want to have the less assertive beers first and the more assertive, more flavorful, more intense beers later. That way your palate doesn't get blown out and you can enjoy those beers even better. Well, next on the list is another Hefeweizen, but I believe this is an American version.
It comes from Montana.
All right, Montana. Well, we'll be right back in a moment with that Montana beer and let you know how it's going to taste. Until then, stay tuned to Beer TV, Brewing with Style. Okay, folks, we're back, and this time we're going to the American side of things with this really wonderful fruit wheat ale. This is Land Creek's Mandarin Hefeweizen, and I'm going to pour Dean up a nice slug of this Mandarin Hef, and we're going to taste this beer and see how it goes down. Now, I've had this beer before at the Spring Beer and Wine Fest, and I really like it. It's one of the few, outside of, I believe, Deschutes mandarins that I've had, and they're very tasty beers. Oh my God, you smell this, it's like smelling those, what are those little tiny mandarins called? Sweet Betties? No, they're called
oranges.
Yeah, they're called Mandarin oranges, but they have a particular name. There's a particular variety of Mandarin orange, and that's what I'm thinking of with this beer. It's got a particular variety of Mandarin orange.
Fort Line Brewery.
Oh, absolutely. They make wonderful fruit beers, and they have great beers upon which to build their fruit beers. All too often, I see people using fruit to cover up defects in their beers, and that's not what fruit beers are about. You've got to have a good basis for a fruit beer to put the fruit into, otherwise it just falls apart. Yes, we're going to be going back to the old country and trying a different beer altogether, except this time we're going back to a different old country. Instead of Germany, Dean, let's go to Belgium. The thoroughly most disgusting word in the galaxy. We'll be right back in just a moment on Beer TV, Brewing with Style. Cheers.
Now this one sounded to me.
Well, we're back, and like I told Dean, we're going to Belgium this time, because wheat beers don't always come from Germany or the United States. Some of them come from Belgium. And now we have Wittekerke, which literally means wheat church. Now, I don't know if they're telling me that this is the church of wheat beer or what, but after all, this is a very good beer, very intense. When I think of a Belgian wit, this is the beer I'd go to.
Well, there's the Hogard is considered the example, but finding out that this was available too, and finding something a little more aggressive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my Lord. You can smell the Pilsner malt in this. Mm. Oh. That is damn tasty.
Stronger hop.
Mm-hmm. Little stronger hop. Well,
we're going to do a stronger beer on our next beer.
That's right. We're going to be
what's
doing
next.
some stronger beers. We're going to be going to the dark side of the wheat. Yes. All of our beers have been
Dark
real
side.
light and spritzy. Now we're going to be heading up to some box. That's right. Box strength
less.
beers. Well, they're going to have the same amount of gas, Dean. That's the unfortunate downside of it. But the good side of it is they're going to be really malty. They're going to be a little bit richer. Yes, exactly. They're going to have a little bit more character and about 50% more alcohol.
Okay. So this is going to be an interesting excursion.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll be right back with more beer tastings on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Okay, folks, we're now going to go to the dark side of the Hefeweizen world. This is the Dunkelweiss from Great Divide Brewing. It's about 6.5% alcohol by volume, so it's a full percent alcohol higher than our previous beers. And so it's going to be a little bit edgier, it's going to be a little bit more fuller body, more fuller flavored, and hopefully a little fruitier too to balance out all those flavors.
I'm ready.
And being as it's from Great Divide, I'm having great expectations for this beer because they're a great brewery. They make some awesome beers.
Now, funny, you call that dark, right? But it's
Well, it
considerably-
is.
Considerably darker
Yeah.
than all the beers you've had.
It's darker than the beers we've had,
But
and
still, what a nice color.
yeah, it's got a nice tannish head.
And it also is.
Oh boy, you smell that. I'm smelling dark fruit flavors like dates and figs.
Some of my favorite flavors in beers.
Yeah. Oh boy. Very smooth.
What is that? Is it a really big banana thing that's right in there?
Yeah. Yep. And a little bit of tobacco too, like shag tobacco, like when you go into like a tobacconist shop and you smell that real earthy kind of tobacco aroma. But this is more of a flavor that I'm getting than an aroma. But it's what that
Flavor profile.
it's what that smell would taste like. The smell and taste are highly related. Well, enough for this beer. We need to get into darker beers. That's right. We're heading into Weizenbock territory now. That Dunkel was a nice respite. Now it's time to go full bore, full speed ahead into the Weizenbock. So we'll be right back in a moment with BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Okay, we're back after that wonderful respite, and now we're going to try something a little bit heavier duty, a little bit higher in the alcohol department. I've got Erdinger's Picantis. This is their Weizenbock. Very strong beer, 7.5% alcohol by volume.
Ready. Okay, more brown.
Yes, definitely. Now this is a Dunkelbock. This is a Dunkelweizen. This is a
When we
much
saw
darker
the
beer.
Dunkel on the last beer, we said it came out amber, and now that's the color you expect. It's not really brown. You can actually see the reddish tones.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. This is sort of an amber brown, maybe mahogany color of things. Now there's your stewed fruits you were looking for, Dean. Like black cherry.
A little of that in there.
Yep, very nice. Oh, definitely box strength beer.
No, I like to see mouthfeel full.
But you could taste the alcohol. It has that kind of sweet alcohol, aroma and flavor.
Yeah, definitely the first three beers would have that. Taste alcohol.
Well, that's the nice thing about having these stronger beers. They're not only fuller flavored and fuller body, but they actually have a little bit more kick to them. And you can actually smell and taste the alcohol much more precisely than you can with the other beers. And I think that's just because of the fact that it is, after all, a Weizenbock.
Almost chewy.
I like that. I could drink a lot of this. Yes, and we'll be back in a moment with BeerTV, Brewing with Style, as we go even stronger. Yes, we're going to go for Weizenbock's Double Box, the original Double Bock Weizen beer. Be right back. Well, we're back, folks, and we're getting ready to wrap up here. And one of the things I wanted to finish up with was some beers that I've always liked. Schneider & Sons from Bavaria has come out with this beer. It's called Aventinus. This is a wheat double bock. And Dean loves double bocks. So I thought, what better than a wheat double bock?
Okay.
Almost, but not quite, a wheat wine, one of Dean's favorite styles.
Oh my God. That nose moved out of me.
I knew it would. I've had this beer before. It's one of my
yeah.
favorite beers.
But I actually get a lot of banana.
Now this beer is a little bit stronger. It's like about 8% alcohol by volume. So it's a little bit more assertive than the last beer. Last beer was only 7.5, so we're creeping up the scale here.
Right.
We're getting ready for our last beer of the night. And I just wanted you to get prepared.
Look, smell that banana.
Oh, that's very intense banana, but it's got an underlying, almost like graham cracker kind of aroma coming across underneath that banana. Oh, I love Aventinus. So when we come back on Beer TV, Brewing with Style, you're gonna see what an ice bock tastes like. A wheat ice bock. Very tasty beer, very assertive, full body, full flavored. It's there. Cheers. Alrighty, we're back, and as promised, I have got the most powerful wheat beer in the known universe. Yes, I am talking about Schneider & Sons Aventinus Ice Bock. This beer is unique, and they take Aventinus and they literally freeze it and then remove the ice from the beer, giving it an effective 12% alcohol by volume. That would be like brewing this beer to like 1120 gravity points, but it still has that nice dry finish that you find in wheat beers. Even in a bock or double bock, this is still a very dry beer. But it has a nice, it's almost like banana bread aroma now. Doesn't it remind you of banana bread, like when it's freshly baked and it comes out of the oven and you get the knife out and you cut it open and that steam rises in your face and you get that nose hit? Oh, I know they do, but this is not a banana bread beer. This is an actual aroma of banana bread without the addition or use of banana bread.
Or bananas, yeah.
Exactly. They are actually doing this with yeast and how it ferments the wort that they have made.
Yeah, awfully smooth for its strength.
Oh yeah, for 12%.
I mean, you just gotta accept it. I don't know if we did this blind tasting and say, can you taste the alcohol? Because the flavors are just wonderful how they round it out.
Mm-hmm.
What
I
fruit
mean,
do you think we're talking about?
Oh, I'm thinking Black Forest, chocolate and cherries, and a little bit of coconut, but it's all good.
Oh, yeah.
So until then, keep on brewing. Cheers.
Awesome.
Wow, that was great. I tell you what, Dean, I really liked those beers that we tasted at your place the other night. That was simply amazing. What was your favorite beer of the whole bunch we tasted?
I was a little surprised to them that each taste got more nuances, got a little more interesting, and, got more complicated, and yeah, I was actually taught me something too.
Well, that's what I always try to do when I do a tasting. I like to go from the less to the more assertive, from the lighter to the darker, from the less bodied to the fuller bodied beers, so that way you don't overwhelm your palate and then you can't taste the smaller beers. That's why I really dislike these people at festivals that go for the big heavy beers first and wipe them out so I can't taste them, because I'm trying to taste the more delicate beers first and then get to those bigger beers later so I can enjoy them more. But c'est la vie, some people just don't want to learn.
You know, I've done it at many of the big festivals and of course ran out. So like the last festival, I go there, you go right for that big beer. I circled the large, big alcohol ones to see that would, and it's not my favorite course of action, but, and I think it's a matter to get there early, you have a chance. Or
Absolutely.
More of a chance, a little more planning.
Yeah, exactly. Got to go in there with a plan, be organized, get your beers in line, and then just execute your plan. And that way you can enjoy the beer more throughout the day and you don't get too intoxicated, but you have a great time.
Yeah, take it easy. But I thought we did a very good transgression of beers.
The only thing I wish they'd have at beer festivals is food that would go with the specific styles they're serving. And speaking of food, man, that was amazing. We had 12 different beers with completely different character, all of which were considered wheat beers by their respective breweries. All you can say about wheat beers is that they're very zesty, bready, crisp, creamy ales called a wheat beer by the brewery. What's really good about wheat beers are all the different foods that go well with them. Fruit salad is a personal favorite of mine, as is a nice slice of cheese, like cheddar. Swiss, or even cream cheese. The sweet character of the fruit and the nice creamy flavors of the cheese go really well with the spicy and fruity flavors of wheat beer, along with that nice creamy mouthfeel. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to be pairing up food with wheat beers. The wheats will contrast some of the creaminess in egg-based cheese dishes, cheese omelets, or eggs Benedict, for example, and will stand up to their spicy flavors. The perfect beers to serve with chips and salsa. Darker wheats, such as Weizenbachs, can complement lighter, fruitier desserts, such as bananas Foster or lemon meringue pie. Talking about spicy foods, I like a spicy Mexican meal, such as super hot food like blackened redfish. Once your tongue has been assaulted with hot spices, it will no longer be able to appreciate the intricate flavors of the beers anyway, so that just goes mighty fine with a nice, crisp, spicy wheat beer. The main thing to remember is that you can either complement the beer with the food, or you can contrast the food with the beer by pairing unlikely matches such as pale ale with smoked fish or a stout with fruit desserts. Select foods from the same region where the beer is brewed. Most often they complement each other quite well, like peppered chicken and Oktoberfest lager. Next, we're off to pair up some awesome food with wheat beers and show you how and where you can spend your late spring days this season. And we'll be coming right back on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Michael Brown here. I'm at the Concordia Ale House on 33rd and Killingsworth in Northeast Portland. And today I'm going to be pairing up some wheat beers with some awesome food. I've got the Horseshoe Hefeweizen right here from Alameda Brewery, just around the corner. Alameda makes awesome beers. This is one of them. I'm also going to be having a dark wheat beer from Byron Brewing. This beer is Dragon's Breath. What an awesome name. Because some people, they think that wheat beers are all the same. And I'm here to show you that they're not only different, but they can both go with the same kinds of food. And I'll be right back with you with a food pairing in just a moment on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Hey, I'm back. Concordia Ale House has this wonderful salmon pate. Now, by the time you watch this show, this probably won't be on the menu anymore. But I'm just here to show you the kind of foods and beers that you can pair yourself at Concordia Ale House. Come on down to 33rd and Killingsworth and enjoy the wonderful fare they have here, the reasonable prices, the great atmosphere, and the awesome servers. And do remember to tip your server. These people are very knowledgeable. They know the beer, they know the food, they know how to pair them up for you, and they do an awesome job. So I'm going to be tasting this food here in just a moment with my technical director, Sam Beagle. And we'll be right back with you in just a moment as we pair these food with these beers and see how it tastes on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Okay, folks, we're back. Michael Brown here with my friend Sam Beagle, also my technical director and cameraman. And what we're going to do today is we're going to taste this awesome food prepared for us by the head chef here at Concordia Ale House, and we're going to pair it up with a light and a dark Hefeweizen, showing how you can pair two beers of the same genre with the same food. And Sam, I'm going to grab myself one of these salmon pates, and you're welcome to grab yourself one of them. They're a little free-hearted. They do look good.
These look just awesome.
Absolutely. And definitely get some tomato in there. The tomato has a little bit of acidity in there, which will help balance out the flavor of the cheese on there.
Oh, is that cheese? I thought that was hollandaise.
It could be hollandaise, but it looks a little bit thicker. Like they may have put some cheese into that hollandaise, which would work awesome for me. That is hollandaise, and the crust on this salmon pate has to be believed. It's just crispy, crunchy, toasty on the outside. This wonderful salmon goodness on the inside. And then I'm going to try it with the light Hefeweizen first. And it smells nice and spicy, kind of like a German style Hefeweizen. It's cloudy, so that means there's wheat in there. That's why it's a Hefeweizen. Tastes like a German style Hefeweizen. All I can say is, Sam, Prost.
Prost.
Those spicy flavors of the beer cut right through that creamy hollandaise sauce. removes that with those nice scribbling bubbles, and gives you a truly wonderful beer and food experience. I like the way they do their salmon here, Sam. A lot of times when you go have salmon in a place, they either overcook it or they undercook it. Because people are afraid if they don't cook it long enough, then it's not going to be done.
Right.
They might get food poisoning or whatever.
Exactly.
And some people undercook it because they're afraid of making it, dry and tough. And they did it just right here. Oh, it's just
I
an
agree.
incredible thing.
I totally
I want to try
agree.
this dark beer.
Now, I've got a question for you about that one after you taste it.
Oh, absolutely. It smells chocolatey on top of the spiciness and the fruitiness. Neither one of these beers has really exhibited a lot of banana, but there is a nice gentle fruitiness in the background, balancing out that nice spicy aroma and flavor. All I can tell you is I like the beer. It's nicely balanced. It's still light and refreshing the way a Hefeweizen should be.
Oh,
But being a
absolutely.
Dunkelweizen, it is noticeably and demonstrably darker than the Hefeweizen.
Well, yeah.
But it has that same similar flavor and aroma profile, but it's got that extra kick, from those dark grains,
Oh,
which is what makes
absolutely.
it darker visually, but
Absolutely.
also more flavorful.
Right.
And that really goes well with the salmon too. Now, some people are going to say, scratching their heads, how can a light beer and a dark beer both go with the same cuisine? And the answer is really simple. If they're both similar beers in a similar vein, like these are both wheat beers. You've got a light wheat and a dark wheat. Now, if we were to switch that up and say maybe get a Helles, which is a light malty beer from Germany, and pair that up with a Dunkel, which would be a darker, richer beer in Germany, both of those would go surprisingly well with, say, peppered chicken, because both of them are malty, full-bodied, full-flavored beers that would pair really nicely with a good roasted peppered chicken.
So it's even though they're two different colors,
Yes, absolutely.
it's virtually the same style of beer.
And it comes down to the fact that both these beers are using very similar yeast. They're using the German-style ale yeast, and that is what drives the flavor of these beers. And so even though you can play around with the grain bill and make it a little toastier, make it a little roastier, make it a little bit drier, it's still going to have that same spiciness and that same fruitiness, and that's coming from the yeast, and the yeast is in suspension here. That's what makes it cloudy, and that's what gives it its particular flavor and aroma.
That makes sense.
And it goes so well with this salmon. I mean,
absolutely.
it would equally go well with a lighter fish, but if you're going to have a lighter fish, like swordfish maybe, but still assertive in the flavor.
Right.
I mean, you could go with the Hefeweizen. The Dunkelweizen would go more well with, if you're going to be in the fish venue, with a darker fish, like maybe redfish or snapper, something like that. Something a little heartier, a little more hale. With salmon, because we are in Oregon, and this is a northwestern cuisine.
Oh, good grief, yes.
Goes so well with either beer. It's immaterial which beer you drink as long as you enjoy it with the food you're eating.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about on BeerTV, Brewing with Style, is learning and understanding the fundamentals of beer pairing with food. You can either complement them or you can contrast them. With the dark beer, I'm complementing. With the light beer, I'm more contrasting, because you've got a fairly hearty food here with the salmon, but it goes so nicely with the lighter, crisper beer. And the darker beer actually goes well with it too, because those nutty, chocolatey flavors, those toffee flavors go so well with that real hale and hearty salmon food flavor. And so they just kind of work together. And so it's possible to both complement and contrast those flavors simultaneously and still come up with a good food pairing.
Absolutely.
Well, let's end this food segment with a Prost and a cheers to the Concordia Ale House and their awesome hospitality. And don't forget, people, tip your server. They're worth it. Beer and food is so good. What kind of food would you like to have with wheat beer, Dean?
Oh, something that maybe a little spicy on the soft side. Not heavy foods. Just chips and salsa. Probably go great with it.
That would be vegetarian too, because I know you're a vegetarian person, and that would be an excellent choice for a vegetarian. Any other vegetarian suggestions you might think of?
Well, of course, you could go even something as simple as salad. They make good, especially fruit salad.
Oh yeah, now you're talking. I love fruit
work
salad.
well.
I love fruit salad.
That unusual, the cloudiness and the that particular taste of the banana clove goes very well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. With food pairings, you've got lots of choices available to you, and that was just simply incredible. pairing different foods with beer is just as much fun as cooking with beer. The flavor profile of the beer boils down to a balance of flavors and dryness. I mean, isn't that what it really comes down to? You know, even Audrey knows that, you know, it has to be a balance of flavors and dryness. Right, Audrey?
Exactly.
But anyway, Mrs. Hands, aka Audrey, is always there for me when I need her. But dryness is also a factor of malt character and any residual sugars, balanced by the spiciness of the yeast, or in this case, the spicy, fruity flavors of the fermentation as well. Beer can contribute richness, even sweetness and body to sauces. But you gotta watch out for those hops, as they will change in nature in the cooking process, particularly with reducing sauces. They could take on an astringently bitter character that begins dominating the flavor profile and may become too cloying. You have to be sparing when cooking with beer. When spicy beers like wheats are reduced, they can become much more spicy and can ruin the finish. That's why I like to use wheat beers as a marinade or a soup base when I cook with wheat beers. Now, Weissens and Wits are excellent with any good light soup or egg dish with cheese. I make a pretty tasty beer and cheese soup that uses either beer with sharp cheddar cheese and either a potato or a celery base. Try making Belgian potato pancakes with wheat beers. Just replace some or all the water with beer. Well, I hope you found this show a useful medium for your brewing, tasting, and food-related needs. On the next show, I'm going to showcase the beers of the warmer days of summer, when your palate turns towards those tartar, more refreshing side of things. That's right, I'll be brewing up a sour ale for the warm summer days ahead, and I'll show you how it's brewed, what it tastes like, and how you can enjoy it with your favorite foods next time on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. We'll be back next week with another show. Thanks for watching BeerTV, Brewing with Style. So, Dean, what you got planned for your next wheat beer?
I don't know. I think I can do a system where I can make a strong beer and a light beer at the same time.
Oh, that's right. You're a party gal brewer, aren't you?
Right. So why don't I try that little wheat beer thing? And then the other beer can be your regular Hefeweizen.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Make yourself a nice strong beer and a nice Hefeweizen to go in between. So that way you can drink that Hefeweizen as your daily drinker and save that stronger wheat beer for, you know, those special moments.
Yeah, well, maybe till next winter when they need to be in more competitions.
There you go.
Because we just don't see stronger style beers. Although, you know, Sam Adams is now making an Imperial White.
I saw that. That Imperial Wit is very tasty.
Yes, he did a good job.
Dude,